Something crawled out from under the kitchen table and sat on my chest. And the moment it touched me, my vision went completely black. Not like fainting, not like closing your eyes. No, like something alive wrapped itself around my face and didn't want to let go. I couldn't see, I couldn't breathe, I couldn't even scream. And the worst part? Whatever that thing was, it knew I couldn't see it. Every small town has that one house everyone avoids. The one where families move out overnight, leave furniture behind, never say why they're leaving. For us, that house was next door to my best friend. That night, when we stepped inside, I had no idea that something had been waiting for us under that kitchen table. I grew up in a quiet neighborhood, the kind of place where nothing crazy ever happened, except for that one house. It was always for sale. Families would move in, smiling, waving, promising to finally settle down. And then, a few months later, gone. No moving trucks, no conversations, just gone. My best friend lived right next door, and we joked that the house was cursed. But it wasn't funny. Not really. Lights would turn on even when nobody lived there. Windows changed positions, like someone opened or closed them at night. But we were teenagers. Teenagers do stupid things. So one cold December weekend, bored out of our minds, my friend said, "Let's just go in." The back door was locked, but the dog door wasn't. He crawled through, unlocked the door from the inside, and let me in. The house looked normal. Old, but normal. Craftsman style, 1950s, built-in furniture. The kitchen still had a beautiful breakfast nook with a big table facing the window. Snow from the streetlights outside reflected across the walls. There was no power, no heating, but the house felt quiet. Not peaceful quiet, the kind that's waiting. We sat down on the floor across from the table, talking, laughing, pretending we weren't freaked out. But something felt wrong. The air wasn't just cold, it felt heavy, pressing down on my chest. I remember rubbing my hands together because my fingertips were turning numb. Then my friend suddenly froze mid-sentence. His eyes went wide, and he whispered, "Dude, don't move." I thought he was messing with me, but before I could roll my eyes, his face twisted in real terror. He screamed my name, and the world went black. Not like fainting, not like losing consciousness. It was like someone slammed a thick, wet blanket of darkness over my head. I couldn't see, I couldn't move, I couldn't breathe. Every inch of my skin turned ice cold. This sticky, suffocating cold that felt like fingers sliding under my clothes. I started clawing at the air, trying to grab something, anything, but my hands touched nothing. Just that freezing, suffocating dark. And then I felt pressure, a weight, like something was sitting on my chest. Not human weight, too light, too still, like an animal pretending to be a person. I felt my friend's hand clamp around my wrist, hard, desperate. He yanked me so hard my shoulder popped. My vision came back in sudden bursts. Shadows, floor, doorway, snow, streetlight. And just like that, we were outside. I collapsed onto the driveway, gasping, teeth chattering so violently I could barely speak. My friend wouldn't go near me. He just stared, pale, shaking, like he'd seen something die in front of him. When I finally got enough breath to ask what happened, he said, "You didn't see it, did you?" I shook my head. His voice cracked. "It crawled out from under the table. A girl, but not a girl. All black, no face, no eyes, just shape. It pulled itself out and sat on you." I felt sick. "I tried to talk to you," he said, "but your eyes were wide open, and you kept grabbing at the floor, like you were blind." For 2 days, I felt wrong, like something was following a half second behind me, moving when I moved, watching when I stopped. At night, the temperature in my room dropped so fast my windows frosted over. I couldn't get warm. And every time I closed my eyes, I'd see a shape crawling toward me on elbows and knees. Slow, deliberate, with that same cold moving across the floor before it reached my bed. 2 months later, the house finally sold again. This time to a couple who lasted exactly 3 weeks. We saw them hauling boxes into their truck at 3 a.m. Didn't even turn the lights on. They didn't say goodbye, didn't explain, just got in the car and left. The for sale sign went up the next morning. My friend looked at me and said, "You felt it, right? Whatever that thing was?" I didn't answer, because I still didn't like thinking about it. About how close it had been. About how cold it felt. About how it moved, low, quiet, patient. And about the one detail my friend only mentioned once, then never brought up again. "It didn't crawl out when we entered the house," he said quietly. "It was already under the table when we sat down." My parents always said, "You were a fussy baby." I never thought much of it, until the night I realized that my crying, the thing that embarrassed them, annoyed them, exhausted them, saved our entire family from being murdered. Because the house they were supposed to go to that night became one of the worst crime scenes in our state's history. And if I hadn't screamed and cried in the back seat, we would have been right there with them. Back then, my dad played on a softball team. Nothing special, just neighborhood guys who wanted to drink beer, win sometimes, and bring their families along for pizza afterward. My parents were close with 2 other couples on the team. Their kids were basically my siblings, same age, same toys, same schools. That night was supposed to be no different. A game, some food, and then everyone heading back to one of the family's houses to hang out. Except this time, the other couples left their kids with a babysitter at the house, plus her boyfriend who came over to keep her company. They invited my parents too, and normally they would have gone without hesitation. But not that night, because I wouldn't stop crying. My mom said I was inconsolable, squirming, screaming, face red, refusing to calm down. The kind of crying that drills into your skull. My dad was frustrated. He joked later, "We almost said screw it, let the baby cry at their house." But my mom refused. Something in her gut said no. She told my dad, "We're going home. I'm not dragging her there like this." They apologized to the others, packed me into the car, and left. That decision, that tiny, tired, frustrated decision, is the only reason I'm alive. Around midnight, the other parents got home. They unlocked the door, stepped inside, and walked straight into hell. 2 men had broken in. They'd tied up the babysitter, her boyfriend, and all the kids. Then they waited for the parents to come home. When they did, the intruders ambushed them. The families were held at gunpoint, tied, beaten, and separated. The men forced both dads into their own cars and made them drive to banks and a grocery store where one dad worked, demanding they empty accounts and open safes. Hours passed. Back at the house, the kids cried. The babysitter begged. Her boyfriend fought back and was pistol whipped so hard he fractured his skull. But the worst part? The intruders never planned on letting anyone survive. Not one person. After forcing the dads to clear out money, the men drove everyone back to the house. No witnesses, no survivors. They killed all of them. Both dads, both moms, all the kids, the babysitter, her boyfriend, everyone inside that house. My dad said later the crime scene photos were so horrific, he wished he'd never seen them. He attended the trials, hoping for closure. Instead, he said, "It was the first time in my life I wanted to believe in the death penalty." I grew up hearing this story as my near-death experience, how my crying saved us. Only years later did someone online point out something that made my stomach drop. It wasn't me. It was my older sister, 9 years before I was even born. My dad had been telling the story wrong for decades. But the truth still stands. One baby's crying saved our family's life. And if she had been quiet for just 1 hour, if she had fallen asleep in the car, if my parents had said, "She'll calm down eventually," we would have walked into that same house, into those same men, into the same ending. Sometimes I lie awake at night imagining it. My parents tied up, my sister screaming, me never being born. All because of a decision made in the dark, between tired parents and a crying baby. A choice so small, it should have meant nothing. Instead, it meant everything. When people talk about college horror stories, they mean bad roommates, failing classes, or embarrassing nights out. But what happened to my friend Haley is something I still struggle to talk about. And every time someone says, "Stuff like that doesn't happen here," I think about how wrong they are. Because it did happen. And it started on a night that was supposed to be harmless. Haley was 18, bright, social, and new to everything college had to offer. One Friday night, she went with a friend to a big party at a university about 25 miles from ours. Hundreds of students, music loud enough to drown out thought, people spilling into the yard. According to her friend, Haley split off at some point to play cornhole with a group near the back porch. That was the last time anyone saw her. Her calls went straight to voicemail. Her friend tried searching the house, the yard, the street. Nothing. At first, everyone thought she'd gone home early. But by noon the next day, police were involved. By day 3, flyers were everywhere. By day 7, everyone feared the same thing. She wasn't coming back. 10 days after she went missing, a homeless man called 911 from a bus stop in the city. He said a girl was crawling out of the bushes, begging for help. Crawling, because she couldn't walk. When police arrived, they found Haley. Her leg and arm were broken. She was dehydrated, bruised, barely conscious. But alive. Barely. She was rushed to the hospital, and slowly, over the next few weeks, the truth came out. Piece by piece. Not because she wanted to talk about it, but because doctors and investigators had no choice but to ask. Haley remembered drinking something that didn't taste right. Then darkness. Then waking up somewhere unfamiliar. A room the size of a closet. A bucket in the corner. A loud lock on the door. And voices outside. Men's voices. She was kept there. Fed just enough to stay conscious. Never allowed to see daylight. She said the worst part wasn't the room. It was the waiting. Waiting for the door to open. Waiting to hear footsteps coming toward her. Waiting to figure out what they wanted next. She didn't talk much about the things done to her, and honestly, she shouldn't have to. All she said was, "It felt like they wanted me there forever." On the 8th or 9th day, she wasn't sure. One of the men brought her to a bathroom to clean up. For the first time, she saw a window. A tiny one above the shower. Most people wouldn't have fit through it. But she tried anyway. With every ounce of strength she had left, she pushed herself up, squeezed through, and fell 3 stories into a hedge below. The impact shattered her leg. But she didn't stop. She crawled. Across the complex, through the bushes, onto the sidewalk, until she reached the bus stop where that man found her. Until strangers gathered around her. Strangers that finally scared those men away. It took detectives 2 days to locate the apartment. Security footage showed 3 men bringing Haley inside. Not dragging her, carrying her, unconscious. They were arrested without incident. In court, none of them looked at her. Not once.
Haley didn't speak at the hearing. She didn't need to. Her presence alone said everything. The judge denied bail. Every person in that room knew they were looking at people who would have ruined her life if she hadn't taken it back herself. Haley disappeared from our school for almost 2 years. When she finally returned, she was different. Quieter. Older than her age. She walked with a limp for months and carried protection everywhere she legally could. She never went to a party again. Never had a drink unless she poured it herself. Never stayed in a room without knowing exactly where the exits were. But she graduated. She became a nurse. She rebuilt something that most people never recover from. And the most haunting part? She once told me, "I wasn't supposed to get out. If I hadn't seen that window, you'd still be calling me missing." I don't share this story to scare people. I share it because it's real. Because Haley survived something that steals other people forever. Because danger doesn't look like monsters in the dark. It looks like moments. One drink. One stranger. One door closing behind you. And sometimes, the only difference between life and death is a window just big enough to crawl through.
Thank you for watching. Stay safe and stay curious. Subscribe for more unsettling stories.